Good afternoon, everybody. This is Keith with Spreadsheet Sports. Just want to let everybody know that I had some internet problems this morning, so I am getting this out a little bit later. Hopefully, we've got all that fixed. I've reset the computer, reset the router, reset the modem, so I shouldn't have any problems now. So let's jump right into it. A couple things that I want to touch on before we get to the game by game breakdown. First thing is that make sure you get involved in the Spreadsheet Sports League that we have going on. It is now available in the Google Plus lobby as far as the community of Spreadsheet Sports. Would like to build this up to about 20 people every single day. So the only way we can do that is if it consistently keeps filling and making sure that it's something that is on your radar. It's a good way to kind of interact with people, kind of have a little bit of friendly competition, and because we're all kind of using the same tools and everything. So not only that, but it also gets you some lineup breakdowns from the winners and stuff like that as we go through. And it's a nice little bankroll builder too if you go on a nice little winning streak. So next thing I want to do is let you know some of the tournaments going on FanDuel today and DraftKings as well. DraftKings obviously has their VIP experiences going on for the All-Star game. They also have them going on for a bunch of other stuff. This is something that they've kind of started doing, and I absolutely love it and enjoy it. Next thing is on FanDuel, you've got the Chicago baseball qualifier. Today's the last day that you can qualify for that. It's at a smaller price point at $25, and you will be the last person in it. I'll have a couple teams in this. If you normally play 4 entries into the Slam, why not throw 2 entries into the Slam and 2 entries into this and see if you can make some money in the Slam and also take down that Chicago qualifier. So just for going to Chicago, you're going to walk away with $4,000, but the winner gets to take home a grand total of 50 grand. So, and you're not having to play 75 people in order to get it. So that's something that FanDuel and DraftKings have both started doing, is these smaller live events, and take it from somebody who's actually been to a live final. I absolutely loved the experience, and so did my wife, and can't wait to get back. So I will be definitely having a couple teams into this this evening. So last thing I want to touch on right before we get into the game by game breakdown is kind of how to build your bankroll, and I want to touch on it through building it through satellite tournaments. Tomorrow we have the $1 million mega slam or mega monster going on, where first place will probably take home right around $100,000. You can get into this by winning a smaller tournament of 172 people for only $2. So you get to turn 2 into 300, and you get to take that and end up turning it into possibly $100,000 if you take down that tournament as well. It's a good way to build up your bankroll. They offer these satellites at all different buy-in levels. I absolutely loved having the Super Rally ones, where the top 4 teams out of 9 teams ended up getting tickets, and then you ended up getting entered into that. So I think there was one week I had like 250 free tickets basically into the Super Rally, and ended up taking like 15th or 16th out of that on a couple teams. So it's a good way to kind of build your bankroll on the cheap. If you enter this tournament 100 times and you only win it 1 out of 100, guess what? You spent $200 to get a $300 ticket, and boom, you get $100 plus, or as far as your profit is concerned. So that's always something that I do look at. I look at those tournaments and those satellites every day to see if there's anything that I'd like to chase, and making it to where it is profitable for me. So other than that, that is one last thing is everybody should have got their weekly FDP free roll email this morning from FanDuel. If you take down those tournaments, then you're looking at getting entries into the $1 million Mega Monster tomorrow. So just for playing your normal volume, you get the chance to get that $300 ticket, which is absolutely fantastic and amazing. So make sure you take advantage of that. It won't be showing up in the lobby. It'll just be showing up in the in your email. So that is something that you are definitely going to want to take advantage of, because they won't remind you, obviously, and you won't be playing everybody in on the site. So all right, game by game breakdown here. A couple people I'm going to be targeting here today is as far as pitchers. Well, let's just go game by game. Okay. First game, we've got the Red Sox versus the Blue Jays. We've got R.A. Dickey versus Clay Buchholz. Dickey's actually a -126 favorite. That is a 8.5 total. I will be targeting Red Sox backs versus R.A. Dickey, even though he is the favorite. Left-handed bats, especially David Ortiz, Hanley Ramirez is actually still in a good spot. De Aza is in a good spot. So I will have a couple different stacks of Red Sox in a lot of different ways. I'm going to get creative with it, and I'm going to watch R.A. Dickey throw it high and watch it fly. He's going to hopefully he will have whiplash from all the home runs he's going to allow to David Ortiz tonight. So David's actually one of my top first basemen of the night. And he's somebody I'm going to have a lot of my lineups, and he is in my cash game lineup right now as we speak. Obviously, things are going to change if the lineups are released and I see some value open up, and there's other players I want to target a little bit more. But he's in a good position. The Red Sox actually are only striking out at a 16.7% clip versus right-handed pitching this year. So R.A. Dickey does not have a lot of upside. He allows home runs. He'll throw a lot of innings, but he doesn't strike out a lot of people. He's only averaging 14.5% K rate this year, and it is not somebody that I'm going to be targeting at all. So Clay Buchholz is actually – he's in kind of a weird spot. I don't normally target against the Blue Jays, especially at home. But with the pitching options that are available tonight, he might be a sneaky GPP play. So wait until the lineups are released to kind of see exactly how this is going to work out. But he might be in a good spot. But if I am targeting against Clay, I'm targeting left-handed batters just because they seem to do a little bit better as far as the power in GPPs. As far as in cash games, I'd be targeting right-handed batters. Batista and Encarnacion are killers versus right-handed pitching. So that is that analysis on that game. Let's see here. We're going to go to the Brewers versus the Phillies. And Sean O'Sullivan, there's a guy on Twitter that I talk to quite often. His nickname for Sean O'Sullivan is Coors on Wheels, which is absolutely hilarious. And here's the reason why. Sean O'Sullivan strikes out batters at a 10.6% rate. He has allowed a 467 WOBA to left-handed batters with 10 home runs. That is an astonishing 3.8 runs per 9 inning, or home runs per 9 inning. So even though the Brewers only have a 138 ISO versus right-handed pitching, that number has actually started to climb over the last couple weeks, shockingly enough. So I will be stacking. I will be having Brewers in my lineup. Ryan Braun, Carlos Gomez, Gerardo Parra, Adam Lind, absolutely yes, all day long, up, down, left, right, A, B, B, A, C, C. So whatever you Brewers are all in play here against Sean O'Sullivan. They get the positive park shift, and that absolutely is a welcoming sight. So going for the Brewers, you're looking at Jimmy Nelson. I will be targeting, not be having him in any of my cash games. I might have him in a GPP just because it's targeting against the Phillies, but a lot of people do that. So it might be worth actually fading Jimmy Nelson tonight. And here's one of the reasons why. I will be having some Ryan Howard in my lineups, some Maikel Franco in my lineups, Ben Revere, Dominic Brown. I think the Phillies are going to go left-handed heavy lineup tonight, and here's the reason why. Nelson allows a 386 WOBA to left-handed batters, and he's allowed 7 home runs. He does strike out around 7.39 players per 9 innings, but being that it's a hitter's ballpark and he allows that kind of production to left-handed bats, stack the Phillies left-handed bats. That'll be a good way for you to kind of capitalize off of chaos tonight, because a lot of people don't like taking the Phillies just because they're so bad. Next game we're going to go to the Orioles versus the Rangers. We've got Wandy Rodriguez versus Bud Norris. Norris is actually a -132 favorite. And I will be targeting lefties versus Bud Norris. Joey Gallo, Prince Fielder, Sinshu Chu, even though he's been struggling. I'll kind of have those guys sprinkled in throughout my lineups. The reason is because Bud Norris, even though he's allowed a 342 WOBA to right-handed batters, he's allowed a 410 WOBA to left-handed batters. So that's something that I like to look at. Is obviously it's the WOBA. It's a weighted on-base average that basically takes strikeouts and home runs out of the consideration, and it allows you to really capitalize on the production that's in the field. So if you take that versus the BABIP, which Bud Norris's BABIP, which is batting average for balls in play, is 335. So, sorry, that one takes home runs and strikeouts out of the equation. WOBA is just a basic overall weighted on base. So it's something that you look at those and you take into consideration, and you can make a lot better choices. A lot of the older metrics that you're looking at, as far as batting average, on base percentage, even though those are good, I like on base percentage, but batting average in general, batting average can be a little bit misleading. And I'll kind of have a stats breakdown later on in the week as far as why it's misleading at that time. So Wandy Rodriguez, he's somebody that's been pitching over his head lately. Now he does have a 2.28 ERA on the road this year, which is big because of the fact that of where he plays his home games. But Orioles Park is still a hitter's park. Left-handed bats. Even though he's allowed more home runs to righties, so they've gotten him for more power. I'll be targeting left-handed bats because they're going to be lower owned because of the handedness matchup. A lot of people don't tend to look at that. They go based off of handedness. I want my lefty versus righty or my righty versus lefty. They don't look at the lefty on lefty matchup or the righty on righty matchups to see if the guy's actually got some reverse splits in some areas, and that's a way you can actually gain an advantage on the field. So Chris Davis, Jimmy Paredes, Chris Parmalee, David Lowe, if he's in the lineup. Adam Jones did make his return, but he went 0 for 4 yesterday. Maybe it was just get your feet wet game. But if he's in the lineup, that's he might be a little bit lower owned just because of his production yesterday. Matt Wieters is going to be, if he's in the lineup, one of my top catchers of the night. So pay attention to that lineup and make sure that you look at that so you can figure out where you want to sprinkle some Orioles and some Rangers bats in there. So next game we're going to go to is the Twins versus the Reds. We've got Mike Pelfrey, who's a 146 underdog, versus Mike Leake, who's a 159 favorite. And that total is actually at an 8, which is due probably a lot to the hitter's ballpark. But here's another situation that the Twins are in that we can capitalize off of chaos. And the reason for that is I said it last week versus Chris Sale. They ended up getting him for 6 runs. Hope you took advantage of that. But Mike Leake has allowed 10 home runs to left-handed batters this year. 10. And it's not even close to the splits. He's dominant versus right hand. This is a guy as far as reverse splits are concerned. Normally you get a guy it's good against lefties or good against righties. He's better against righties than he is lefties, obviously, but his reverse splits kind of show that he's bad either way. In just 96 innings, he's allowed 42 earned runs. That's one of the highest on the night. He doesn't strike people out, and the Twins aren't K'ing a lot versus right-handed pitching. So even though he's definitely pitching above his head, he's due to come back down to earth eventually. And I think that tonight, because of the fact that Mike Leake is one of the higher owned Vegas favorites and the pitching matchups and the pitching slate is so ugly, people are going to automatically gravitate towards that to try to steal some points off of FanDuel. That's a good way to go kind of in cash games. But as far as GPPs, I'm going to take that. I'm going to use that information and I'm going to flip-flop it. And I'm going to actually target a lot of Twins tonight. So the Reds are obviously in a good spot going against Mike Pelfrey. Mike Pelfrey strikes out players at a lesser clip than Mike Leake does. So don't feel bad to get the Reds going at all either. The only difference is that Mike Pelfrey isn't allowing the long ball this year. Even though he allows a lot of runs and stuff like that, you're not going to get that one swing of the bat production a lot like you would normally have thought. So Todd Frazier, Jay Bruce, Joey Votto, Brandon Phillips, they're all in play. Billy Hamilton actually is in play as well because Kurt Suzuki is mediocre throwing runners out. And if he's not in the lineup, then I'm definitely going to have Billy Hamilton in a couple of my lineups as well. So next game that we're going to go to is the Indians versus the Rays. We've got, it looks like a 7 total in this one with a minus 130 favorite to Nate Carnes. I will be having a little bit of exposure to the Rays today just because of the fact that Cody Anderson hasn't thrown a lot of innings in the majors this year. He's only thrown 7 2/3. We don't really know who this kid is yet, so it's kind of hard to take any of his numbers as far as gospel. But we do know that Steven Souza Jr., Brandon Guyer, Joey Butler, they're all in play. I won't be targeting Evan Longoria today just because there's a lot of other third basemen I like in better spots. But I will have some exposure to the Rays outfield and Logan Forsythe. He's one of my top second basemen of the day. And I like both second basemen in this game, actually. Jason Kipnis and Logan Forsythe. They're both in play for me today. I like a lot the right-handed bats for the Cleveland Indians. So feel free to target a couple of those. But this is a game I'll have lower exposure to just because of the lower run total. Probably throw Carnes in there in a GPP lineup as far as my pitcher, but as far as cash games, I'm staying far away from that. So Next game we're going to go to is the Royals versus the Astros, and this will be one of your biggest games of the night as far as pitching is concerned. Here's the reason why. Lance McCullers, I think, is probably going to be one of the higher-owned pitchers of the night. He's not the biggest or largest favorite, that's for sure, but he's got the highest K per nine percentage and the highest strikeout percentage. Now, you couple that with the fact that the Royals strike out at less than 16% of the time versus right-handed pitching, and it's one of those old added adjectives. Do you want the good pitcher versus the good hitters that don't strike out, or do you want the bad pitcher versus the bad hitters that do strike out? So McCullers, especially in cash games, is going to be higher owned, but I will not have him at all in any of my GPP lineups. The reason is because I'm going to be sprinkling in Royals, and I will be sprinkling in Kane, or not Kane, I'm sorry, Alex Gordon, Kendrys Morales, and Mike Moustakas, maybe some Salvador Perez, but I like Wieters a little bit better in this position that he's in today. So the other one, I say it time and time again, and today is no different. If you want to capitalize off of this situation, I know it's only a 7.5 total, but if you want to capitalize off the situation of the Houston Astros, they absolutely crush right-handed pitching. They've got the highest ISO in the league versus right-handed pitching, and they're higher up there versus right-handed pitching as far as WOBA. Here's the problem. They also strike out at a 26% clip. Okay, so they are 100% GPP. I will not target anybody except for Jose Altuve in any of my cash games just because of the fact that they could absolutely strike out 10 times. Now, they could go off for 10 runs with 6 of them being home runs, but they could lay an egg and, strike out 10, 15 times. Even against a pitcher that, we think is supposed to be of the lower or the lower quality. So Blanton hasn't a lot of home runs this year. I've looked into it a little bit. A lot of it's due to the ballparks that he's pitched in. And the offenses that he's faced aren't really big power bats. So, but he has been touched up for a couple, but it's only in 26 innings. So, this right here is too small of a sample size to see if he's actually changed or if this is just an anomaly. So, I will continue to target against Joe Blanton just because I've watched him for years and I don't think that he's changed and all of a sudden become this type of pitcher. So the numbers he's putting up is all-star worthy, except for the fact it's a low sample size. So I still remember him as the guy that used to give up home run after home run after home run. So I'm not taking this into consideration until I see it in a bigger sample size. So next game is going to be the Dodgers at the D-backs. We're looking at wow. We're looking at Alan Webster versus Mike Bolsinger. Bolsinger is a -153 favorite, and here's my cash game pitcher right here. And here's the only reason why. He's striking out guys at an 8.53 rate, but he is very, very good for the win. The reason is because the Dodgers have a 339 WOBA versus right-handed batters and a 188 ISO tagged with a 424 WOBA allowed for Alan Webster. So he is left-handed bats are only hitting at a 247 clip against him, but target all the right-handed bats. Yasiel Puig, Justin Turner, Grandal, if he's in the lineup tonight. It's Howie Kendrick is in a good spot. I will, with the positive park shift, I will definitely be targeting against Alan Webster tonight. And the Dodgers are probably going to be some of the higher owned players of the night as well. So Diamondbacks. I like Yasmani Tomas. If you're going to target against him, Bolsinger is allowing a BABIP of 305. Left-handed bats are hitting him a little bit better, but his power stuff surrendered is versus right-handed bats. So Paul Goldschmidt, fire him up. He's the best, one of the best hitters in the game right now, and it's you got to pay up for Paul Goldschmidt if you're going to pay up tonight. If not, if you want to punt down to David Ortiz or Chris Davis, then I don't have any problems with that at all either. So next game, we've got the Rockies versus the Athletics. We've got David Hale going against Kendall Graveman. Graveman is actually the largest favorite of the day as of right now. We're looking at a minus 164 favorite. This total is at an 8. Without being jaded here, obviously you guys know I'm a Rockies fan. I can understand that the A's are kind of favorited, but I don't honestly know why they're favorited so much. I think Vegas is taking the Coors Field effect a little too far into this one. And the only reason I say that is the numbers that the Rockies have put up versus right-handed bats. They're hitting at a 340 WOBA with a 186 ISO. And Graveman, as the WOBA allowed, is over 330. Now, David Hale has allowed a bigger WOBA, but in only half the innings. They've allowed the same home runs, but David Hale is only in half the innings. So I like the Athletics bats in this one. You're looking at a Stephen Vaught, a Ike Davis, or Billy Butler. I know Billy Butler is not left-handed, but David Burns, Billy Burns, Sam Fold. I like a lot of those bats tonight as far as the A's. We never know where that production is going to come from. Depending on who's behind the plate will depend on how much exposure I have to Billy Burns. If it's Michael McHenry, fire him up, cash game or GPP, because he turns a walk into a double automatically. I think the A's are going to end up running tonight if McHenry's in that lineup. So if it's Hundley, then he loses a lot of that because Hundley's a lot better throwing runners out. So as far as the Rockies are concerned, Nolan Arenado, he's on an absolute tear. He had another two homer game last night, and he's got 12 home runs this month alone. Remember, I mean he hit 5 home runs in this series versus the Giants. He's had at least 1 home run, 1 RBI, and 1 hit in it was some stat that ESPN had pointed out. It was like 7 or 8 straight games. A hit, a walk, or something like that. It's kind of a crazy stat. He's one of only like 2 or 3 players to do it. So Nolan Arenado is the GOAT. He's taken over the main GOAT on that team from Troy Tulowitzki, and that's just because of the absolute tear he's on right now. If you've ever played NBA Jam or from the Super Nintendo days, if you hit 1 3-pointer, you're good. If you hit 2, you're warming up. If you hit 3, you're on fire. And then you start having the fire. It's coming off the ball as you shoot it. Well, Nolan Arenado, every time he swings the bat, excuse me, there's fire that's coming off of it, and then he turns the ball into fire. So it's just absolutely unbelievable. I haven't seen anything like it in a long time. And he's obviously always in play. Tulo's always in play as well, just because they do so well versus right-handed pitching. I like the top 6. Not a lot of people actually take the Rockies away from Coors. So it's definitely somewhat of a contrarian play. Nobody would have thought to take Nolan versus Madison Bumgarner last night, especially the way that the Rockies hit left-handed pitching, and he was the one of the top third basemen of the day. So don't be afraid to target these guys away from Coors Field. Sprinkle them in and out of your lineups. Don't worry about stacking them just because of the fact that we don't know where that production is going to come from. They are projected at 3.5 runs, and they are a small or a quite large underdog, so they are going to go lower owned tonight. So last game of the night, we got the Yankees versus the Angels, and this is the game that I'm going to have the most exposure to as far as my outfield is concerned. I will be stacking up on Albert Pujols, Mike Trout, right-handed batters versus CC Sabathia this year. A 406 WOBA, 16 home runs. That is 2.28 home runs per 9 innings versus right-handed batters. Just keep loading up on righties versus CC. Okay. I'll have exposure for the left or for the righties versus CJ Wilson as well. You're looking at the Yankees versus right-handed bats this year, or left-handed pitching this year, are hitting at a 328 WOBA with a 171 ISO, and they're only striking out 18.7% of the time. So Alex Rodriguez, Mark Teixeira, Chris Young, who's been on fire lately, they're all in play for me. So Chase Headley is a cheap punt third base option possibly, but I'm paying up at third base tonight. So just load up on right-handed bats from this game. The total is 8. CJ Wilson is a -130 favorite, but make sure you get some exposure to this game because this could end up being the highest scoring game of the night just because of the gas cans that are on the mound. So as far as pitchers are concerned, the ones I'm going to be looking at the most as far as cash games are going to be Mike Bolsinger, Jimmy Nelson, and probably, honestly, Kendall Graveman, just because of the boomer bust nature for the Rockies. I haven't decided. We'll see as lineups get released on how I like those, but those are the 3 I'm going to be targeting. As far as GPPs, Clay Buchholz will be a good one that I'm going to be having in there just because of the higher strikeout. I will have some exposure to let's see here, Lance McCullers. Joe Blanton, I think, is going to go lower owned, and I'll probably throw Nate Carnes in one as well. So other than that, those are about the only 5 pitching matchups I like today. And other than that, guys, let's make sure that we fill up that Spreadsheet Sports League. Looks like as of right now, we still have 7 entries into there. So let's get those final 3 filled up. Hope everybody has a great night. Hope you figure out a way to turn chaos into cash and capitalize off of that. For Spreadsheet Sports, this is Keith, and good luck tonight, everybody.